Engineering is someone who looks at the moon and says, do you think we can get a couple of blokes up there? We have no method whatsoever of getting men on the moon, but we'll think of something. We'll start at the beginning, we'll create something, and we'll get some blokes on the moon. That is engineering, and if that's not creative, I don't know what is. People think engineering is just getting oily and wielding a spanner, but engineering is about making something, do something which it didn't used to do, or do something better than it used to do. It's making it better, or making it from scratch. That's engineering. That's why I love it. That's why I love engineering. It's what I think one of the most creative occupations you can have, and that's why we find it interesting. So every morning you come in and you find something new to do, a new challenge, and try and find a new way to do something you haven't done before. Often we look at projects and we think, how are we going to do that? You just start. Just make a start and see how it goes. And often it goes absolutely like a treat. And the other ones, you think, oh, I know how to do that. It takes you twice as long as you thought it was going to take, because suddenly it's not quite as easy as you thought. But yeah, coming up with new things. I love the challenge of coming up against something I've never done before and try and find a way to make it work. I don't pursue cars for the sake of them. I like what Bentleys are. I like the design of them. I like the way that they were conceived. And a lot of other cars I have not a lot of interest in. I'm interested in Bugattis and Alfa Romeos, beautiful cars like that. But really in the vintage cars, Bentleys is what I grew up with, is what I know, and it's what I love. Bentley, W.O. Bentley, before he made motor cars, made aircraft engines. And he made the best aircraft engines in the First World War. His aircraft engines were running 70 hours between overhauls, or everyone else is running 15. And if you're a pilot without a parachute, that's really good news. And so even in the First World War, his aircraft were reckoned to be the best, or the most popular certainly with the pilots. So he was a very, very clever designer before he ever even made motor cars. And then he made the motor cars, which were fantastically reliable. They won Le Mans 5 times in period. And even now, they're just great cars. Everyone loves a Bentley. They're not quite as fast around a circuit as a 35B Bugatti. And they're not quite as fast down the road as an 8C Alfa Romeo. But they will do everything very well. They will race, they can rally, they can hill climb, they can go on-road, they can go off-road, and they can do it all very, very well. They're just really, really well-engineered cars. They're really well made. And they're great to drive. People love driving them. People buy Bentleys, they keep Bentleys. I don't do things that are unnecessary, but I will do what's needed. So we look at it. We look at every job on its merits. The bar is as high as we can possibly make it. If we feel there's something we could do better, we do it better. Race preparation is exactly the same as touring preparation, any preparation. I build the cars to the same standard, whether it's a race car or it's just a touring car. The thing about a race car is it has to be good, because otherwise it just blows up. When I was racing at Zandvoort a couple of weekends ago, I was pulling nearly 130 miles an hour out of that down the straight, waiting for the engine to blow up. But it doesn't, because you build it right. But you use the same principles. The preparation that goes into that engine is the same as any other engine, because you know it'll survive at 130 at maximum revs. They say normally these cars should rev to 3,500 revs. That was pulling 4,500 revs in top, and that's how you can get the top speed. But if it'll survive that, it'll survive 2.5, no problem. So it's almost like a destructive testing test bed. So that's what we do. We build everything to the same standard, and then we know we don't have problems. All the components are the same standard. Everything's the same. People come here to have their engine rebuilt. They don't want to be coming back in a year's time. They don't really want to be coming back in 20 years' time. They want to have the engine done and then forget about it. And that's what we do. Same with the transmission, same as the chassis. They still take maintenance, but if you build them right, you use the right components, use the right materials, don't try and be too clever, it works a treat. A kind of a rule I have is if you can't see it, so it's inside a mechanical system, like inside an engine, you want to make sure that the integrity of the component is very, very strong. So if, for example, you wanted to run an engine with its original connecting rods, you're really asking for big trouble, because if they break, they chop the engine in half. So then you'd end up with an awful lot of damage, which would then be very, very difficult to rectify. And so we look at the mechanical systems and take a view on what they are. If it's a part that's seen, certainly we'll do absolutely everything you can to restore it. And generally you can restore. If you're determined enough, you can fix anything. It's just a question of how much time and money you want to throw at the problem. But nowadays, people want to go back to the original. They really value that original touch. I mean, the Speed 6 saloon we have has its original leather still in. 10 years ago, no one would ever have bothered restoring the original leather. We'd replaced it with nice, shiny new leather. But this time we're restoring the leather, and I think we'll then have the only Speed 6 saloon with its original leather left in the world. So restore where you can, and replace where you must. Ultimately, you want to end up with a car that looks like you haven't touched it. Much more difficult than making a shiny car, believe me. A lot of these cars over the years, they've been driven by hundreds of people, and these cars have been through many hands and are known for decades and improved, and often the cars have been altered for financial reasons, because they used to be worth almost nothing and people would change them. And now I see my job now is to take these cars and bring them back to what they originally were. I find they work so much better. When you find a car that's been heavily modified, they never drive so well. They're never so nice to go, never so nice to use. And you bring them back to what they were originally, and they're fantastic. So that what I do is I think I understand the engineering mentality that created these cars, being an engineer myself. So I can work with that, and I can make the cars do what they should do. Every car's different, and every car's the same. You know, it's a very strange concept.